Greetings in the name of the Most High. That's a short, well, not sure how short or how long it's going to be. But basically, the topic I'd like to deal with on this video is Facebook and white supremacy. Now, those are two words you would rarely hear me say in seriousness, because I think white supremacy is an oxymoron. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to refer to white supremacy a few times, I guess. Now, I was added to a group on Facebook called African Americans Aren't African, or something to that effect. Not sure who started the group. Not sure what's the objective of the group. As an African descendant living in America, I see the group as a divisive group, and ultimately I think that the group was started by a white individual, probably using a black sounding pseudonym to get black followers. But I do not think that an African descendant who is aware of how Africans got to the West in such large numbers to work under involuntary servitude would in 2018 be promoting anything that divides Africans. I think now more than ever Africans need to unite, because white folks worldwide have always been a united force fighting against us. And I'm not saying this to be racist, I'm saying this to be real. The thing about being real and speaking about truth and racism in a world dominated by media controlled by white people, the same one who promote these unjust practices that you're referring to, usually they attack you. The Africans, the black people who you're targeting, who you're trying to reach, who you're trying to make aware with these things, with these videos, they rarely get to see them. But before they do, most times you have white evil entities, because this is how evil works. And evil currently rules our world. Our world is currently run by evil people. The people who control the wheels of power in our current world are evil. There is no doubt about it. America, England, France, Spain, these are all countries who have a history of invading other people's countries and murdering them in the name of their gods and their Jesus Christ. And to this day, they have not shown any kind of remorse, especially when it comes to dealing with Africans. France, had it not been for current actual African countries paying them yearly some weird fee that for losses they would have accrued due to their abolishing of slavery and relinquishing these former colonies, to show you the sickness of the white mind. And I'm not saying this because I feel all white people are this way. I'm saying this because I know for a fact that the majority of white people exhibit or express or feel these sentiments, carry these emotions, thus the persistence of these injustices and barbaric acts perpetrated upon black people by whites. So in this group, there was a video of Malcolm X talking about black economics and basically talking about topics that are trending today. Black folks being kicked out of white establishments and that sort of stuff. On a personal note, I don't care about black people being kicked out of white establishments. I think that black folks should be spending their money with black folk. Sadly, we do not have a lot of big Starbucks chains and Walmart chains and that sort of stuff. So it's kind of difficult to find black franchises per se. And the few mom and pop black businesses, because of the overhead and because they do not have a wide base, a wide market strategy, they do not have a wide consumer base, then their expenses would tend to be higher, thus their prices would tend to be higher. What we need to understand is that from purchasing more and more from these people, we give them more power, and thus they're able to expand and bring down prices so that like the Walmarts and them. So in this group, Malcolm is talking about spending, and he's basically lambasting black folks for wanting to go to white places and begging to spend their money with their oppressors, and I understand what he's saying. But my comment under the video was, In all fairness, African Americans have always made an effort to come out and uplift themselves. And the examples I put were Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Black Wall Street, which was the precursor to the current Wall Street. Before America, white America had a Wall Street, Africans had established one. Seneca Village in New York was another small black community that was thriving. Move, Philadelphia was another one, but I didn't mention Move. So, and I put these two, Seneca Village and Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street, and I said that the pale, pink, genetically inferior, ruthless, soulless, heartless, immoral, genetically inferior demonics come. And these are things that can be scientific. I do not have the monetary resources to go through with these experiments, but what I can tell you is that DNA transmit certain information. Pain and trauma can be transmitted via DNA. White folks have done studies in white folks to determine this. They have not done similar studies in Africans because throughout their history, they have established this train of thought, this school of thought, that Africans are beasts. We do not feel pain. We do not have emotion. So after I posted this, that these demons have always found a way to justifiably bomb and destroy every effort the African has made at uplifting himself in America, because allowing Africans to excel in America as other peoples have done will dispel the myth of white supremacy. And I got blocked for 30 days for that. Now, anybody who knows of justice and truth and right will understand as an African where I'm coming from, and they will not deny me the right to express those views because these are factual views. The normal human white person will have no problem with that because they understand what I'm saying is true. Jane Elliott, Tim Wise will get where I'm coming from. But because Facebook is a white supremacy tool, and a lot of these social media platforms that we use are white supremacy tools aimed at monitoring and editing our expressions, and the expressions that they permit, the expressions that they allow us to put out there and go viral are generally expressions that degrade and debase and destroy the African race. And ultimately that is the role of white supremacy, as it is an evil ideology ultimately designed by the demonic forces in our midst. And demonic forces do nothing but distort, destroy, deceive, devalue, debase. And all the white man has done from his advent, from the time he has learned to use his brain, which is something we were instrumental in, has been to devalue the African. Think about it. They have invaded lands where Africans have lived and called it discoveries. They have gone to African countries and murdered people wanton, willy-nilly, because in their sick psyche, it is their God-given right to murder anything that does not look like them. Yet somehow or the other, they still feel they are supreme and more human than everything else on the planet. Now here today, we have their allies helping them because of weakness and lack of spine, helping them to maintain and enforce sanctions on just sovereign nations because they do not want to bow to their ideology. So you got France demanding money from African countries and Haiti, and you have America and England and these other countries ensuring that these other countries pay, but then somehow they come out and speak about African countries being corrupt and not being able to come out of the squalor in which they live, and they take their resources out daily. And Facebook and all these other petty platforms are used to promote the superior white ideology and the inferior black ideology. Now, outside of all of this, if you were using logic, rationale, and common sense, you will see that nature itself made the white man inferior, because ultimately his genetics is superior to none on this planet. And the African, on the other hand, is the most supreme. Genetically, we have genetic dominance, genetic supremacy, genetic diverse dominance over every single genotype out there. Now think about that. Why would Mother Nature give you this particular genetic characteristic, which ultimately comes because it is not an isolated thing? It ultimately comes with all the traits, all the characteristics, all the values necessary to create all these other peoples, yet somehow all these other peoples in the white man's eyes and in the history that he teaches are superior to the African, who is the rootstock of them all. And Facebook ultimately is a very strong tool in the promotion of white supremacy. So be careful about the things you put out there, and remember that ultimately as Africans we need our own platforms, our own media, because this is a war and the white devils are winning. Wake up, wise up, and rise up.